Okay, so we're going to continue by making some more cords, but this time we're going to make very short little cords and leave the fluffy ends in place. I use these quite often in a different way from the long cord that we made in the first video. I use them mainly as attachments, for example here, little arms and legs and hair, or in sculptural pieces. These I just have bound with silk threads, or these individual pieces, this has an inner core of lots of linen thread or sari silk, things like that. So when you're trying to make a short cord and you want to definitely attach it to something, I would quite often make short cords, which you can make in a little batch of several, and leave the fluffy end of fibre, which was obviously able to be felted into place, either on the side of an object or on the top of an object. Of course, there's always an exception to the rule, and these objects are made in a different way, which is first of all making the long cord and then cutting the long cord into equal segments and then attaching these to a piece of pre-felt. I'll show you briefly how to do that in another video. So we're going to get started. So I get my usual materials in place, my bubble wrap, my water, and soap. Dry hands for dry fibre. This is the same hank of fibre that we used on the first video to make a single cord of 1 centimetre in width or diameter. I'm going to take a piece of this cord, or take a piece of this fibre, and I'm going to make 2 or 3 little short spiky cords. There's 4, yeah, fairly equal in size. We'll actually make 3 and we'll use this in the process. So I start in the same way by dry rubbing, and this time I'm going right to the end because it's going to have a spiky nose and a fluffy tail. It's quite a fast process. This is mostly dry, a little bit of dampness from my last project, but no added water. That's my dry rolling. You can see that I'm working on a batch. I'm going to take some dry fibre. Wet down. Place my end in place and overlap, wrapping, wrapping, wrapping. I find it works well if I do several at a time. Of course, if you only need one, you only do one. But here we go, working on a batch. I wrap gently roll, leave to the side. Wrap gently. If needs be, I tuck over. And we'll start. Again, I take the soap, a lot of soap in my hand, and I soap the bubble wrap itself. Start with a light roll, barely touching the fibre cord. Start to work the soap into a lather, keeping this fluffy end out of the wet part of the bubble wrap. I might at times, if I feel that it's getting too wet, too flat, take a little bit of the moisture off in the towel. Where I'm able to apply a little bit more firmness. Then bring it back. Rub down. You can see that this process, the felting happens widthways, but not a lot of felting happens this way. So the length of the original fibre is actually the length, essentially, that the cord is going to be. So your felting, you need to consider that when you're laying your fibre. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting your fibre. So we're nearly there. These I would consider to be pre-felted. They need a lot more rubbing, even a rinse out in hot and cold. So I can start to work on them as a batch. This might be the spiky hair of a monster, the arms and legs of a doll, or just a sculptural piece. We always try to keep the fluffy end free from moisture, but even if it gets slightly damp, you'll be able to tease it out at the end or brush it back. Just keep the pressure of your hand off of the end that you want to keep fluffy. And there we go. That's 3 little attachments.